Today we are going to talk about the show which I curated, long distance. It was curated long distance because I was not at the gallery. I still haven't seen the show, but it's almost like as if I've dreamt that I've seen the show because uh, we dream through this gadgets and mobiles and Zooms and video calls. So, I'm there, but I'm not there. So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting exercise to talk about that exhibition, which I curated, but I was not a viewer. I'm still not a viewer. And I think it's very, I was thinking it's a very probably pertinent or I think simple to realize this that many exhibition which you do as a curator are not initiated by yourself. The idea of the show was generated by Samira Raja. She contacted me. She said, "Would you like to do a show on the, let's say, Independence Day or identity or partition or separation or liberation or freedom or 14th August, जो भी है, जिस तरह से भी आप कह दें उसको, in August." So it is, I think, as a curator, there are two ways of approaching exhibition, two ways of like doing exhibition. एक तो ये है कि you make a proposal, you contact a gallery responds either in favor or they decline. Then you approach other galleries. दूसरा ये है, which I feel is slightly much better, if the gallery approaches you and asks you to do something for them. अब उसमें दो तरह की चीजें होती हैं कि sometime they give you a fee, sometime you do it as a favor or as a gesture or something for the good cause of art. Multiple उसमें होते हैं. When Samira Raja called me, I think she called me, or probably she messaged me, I don't recall. इसमें काफी महीने हो गए हैं. So I was very happy, but there was an apprehension as well. Reason? Because this like 5-letter word cliche. Every year we have 14th August. Every year there's a celebration. Every year there's a noise. There's something like kind of a hoo-ha. And every year there's kind of a patriotic sentiments. And as you know me, through my writing, I'm not a person who's kind of too keen on these nationalistic sentiments or these fervors. So for me, you can't say no to your friends. So when Samira said, do a show for me, I said, yes, I'll do that. And she said, okay, it has to be around 14th August, around this thing. So that was also a challenge. And I realized that working on a cliche, working on a subject which you think it has been passé, it has been done so many times in such diverse, when you think about it, on 14th August, and maybe it is not reported, but a number of state galleries do put up shows about celebrating Independence Day or paying homage to martyrs of 1947 or like showing images dealing with partition, independence, freedom, whatever. So I realized what to do with it. So I spoke to a friend of mine and we were discussing it. So we came up with this idea that instead of having it to do with Pakistan or with the subcontinent, why not it could be just a show about a split, a separation, a divide, a partition. And I'm so thankful to her that uh, I won't tell you who she is. Uh, she actually coined the title of the exhibition, A Line That Divides. And I think it suits well, it fits perfectly well. So once you know that you're working on a theme that generally people think before and they have ideas that what is going to be there. 14th August के बारे में कोई भी चीज होगी ना, first thing is you know that it's going to be either about blood, green, white, whether from this point of view or another point of view, whatever it is, but there should be some way. Normally it is rooted around a historical event and its consequences and its like an outcome and its legacy and its history and a present which is in a way history of that period or as kind of a aftermath of that period or a hangover what happened in 1947. We still live in that kind of a trauma. So I realized कि अच्छा अब इसको इस शो को करना है, how to go about it, how to make it something which, if the context has been changed, if the date is removed, if the gallery is not there, and if the show one has to take it somewhere else, it should still have its context or relevance or vitality or potency or I should say high quality. Let's put it this way. तो वो एक challenge है कि how you respond. I think as a creative person, and I feel curators are like that, creative people. They are creative people. That how to kind of take something everyday, something from surrounding, and turn it into something which I'm not saying it's a perfect show. There must be so much flaw, problems, and I told you I haven't seen the show yet. But the attempt or the agenda was to turn it into something not just for a day, a certain month, a certain place, a certain city, a certain context, but something which could deal with a wider human interaction. Because मैं जब ये देख रहा हूँ, when I'm looking at this, and I'm sure you're also looking on your screen, whether you have joined through your computer or whether you have joined through a mobile. At the moment, I see 5 people who are not like video, who have turned their videos on. And all 5 are there. We have joined. हम कहते हैं ना कि we are joining. But I see a line between them. There's a frame and there's a kind of a black line. When you look at it, there's a black line. So that we always have this kind of a line, a dividing line between a mother and child, a husband and wife, between two friends, two colleagues. There is always this kind of a line which is there, which separates so the show was about these lines, which could be, शायद आपने पढ़ा भी होगा उसका वो preamble था, ये जो वो था curatorial note था, because when something divides, it also joins. When I see this, like 5 people on my computer screen, including myself, we're all split. There's a division, but we're all same in the same scale, and we're all like kind of connected, placed next to each other. We are joined, we are glued, we are bound to each other. So I think this is something I realized, that how when we see separation, we also see a kind of its opposite. It's a kind of a putting things together as well. So ये जो idea था, it was difficult to deal with, because how could you ask a contemporary artist, and actually as a curator one feels कि वो आप, you don't choose the idea, you choose the artists. अगर मैंने कोई भी शो करना होगा ना, तो मेरे आई शुड से मेरे बैग में ना कुछ लिमिटेड आर्टिस्ट होंगे, बैक ऑफ माय माइंड, और इन बैग ऑफ और माय कंप्यूटर के अंदर वो सारे, मुझे आई बिलीव इन दोज आर्टिस्ट. Of course, there are other artists. Of course, you include them, but you start with people you believe that they are going to create something different out of this idea, which is good idea, yet a difficult idea to deal with. Because आप किसी से भी बात करेंगे, अच्छा पाकिस्तान के बारे में, सेपरेशन के बारे में, इंडिया पाकिस्तान के उसके बारे में, तो क्या करें? तो वो sometimes it's a typical, sometimes it's a kind of a I think मुझे बहुत बहुत अच्छा लगता है when artists are just, they reject, they say we don't want to work, we don't. And I think as a curator you have to deal with this, that you are not there to force anything, you just suggest and they say no, I'm not really interested in it. And then I think the best part is that it is a curatorial, for me this curatorial practice was a kind of a creative journey as well. I started with few names whom I was familiar with their work, I had a belief in them, and I have seen their work. There was a history, I've seen like development of their art. So I felt that okay, this is good enough. But then वो एक है ना वो I think वो कौन सी थी वो कोक का एड था, या पता नहीं किसका एड था, मेरे ख्याल कोक ही था, जिसकी वो फ्रेज थी ना, ये दिल मांगे मोर. I think you do remember. अब इतने भी बच्चे पेप्सी है. ये दिल मांगे मोर. हाँ, तो ये होता है as a curator, you, and as an artist also, or as a writer as well, when you do something, you shut your work for the day, and yet the next morning you want something more, you desire something new, you look for something more interesting, exciting, unforeseen. So that quest kept on unfolding. So hota ye hai, sometime it's by your design, it's by desire, it's by strategy. You call, you look, you search, you contact, and sometimes you happen to be at a degree show of an institution, and you look at a video and you realize, yeah, this is something which is appropriate for the show. और ये मेरे साथ पहली दफा नहीं हुआ, ये बहुत दफा हुआ है। वो इस शो में उनका काम है, आई डोंट नो आपने अगर देखा होगा इसका वीडियो या इसकी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, तो देयर इज एक लेंटिकुलर प्रिंट है उसका, फरीदा बतूल का। I remember when it was made, I think it was 2004, and it was shown at Rohtas Gallery, and she was having two-person show with Masuma Sayyed and Farida Batul, and they were both class fellows. I taught them, and I was friends with both of them. And I had my views about Farida, and I had my views about Masuma. So I went and thought, "Okay, oh, I'm going to write on this person or that person. I'm not going to tell you what." But when I saw this print, Line of Control by Farida Batul, it just like unforgettable experience. It blew my mind. Say, how this is so simple. This is something so personal, intimate, sensuous, sexual, yet political, yet something like social, yet something which is so like kind of about our region as well. So I was doing a show at that time. I was curating a show of Pakistani art in Bombay. It was called Beyond Border in 2005. So everything was managed, selected, borrowed. Yet I said, okay, no, we want this. I want this work. So we borrowed that work for Bombay, and I wanted to have that work, which was, I think, the oldest work, I should say, in the show, 2004, because it has this kind of a connotation that how a line which divides. So sometime I realize a good shows, or not just like a kind of a, at least the way I practice a curatorial show is not being a teacher, giving assignments or giving projects to students. Kacha, you this is a theme, and then you do work. I think that's really for some people. I think that that would be a course, but for me, it is not really very exciting because honestly, it is the creative person. And I keep on saying this: curators are creative. It is a creative person who picks a piece of paper and turns it into something different, gives it a new meaning, gives it a new identity, makes us see as we have never seen it before. Though we have like dealt with it since we were kids. But a great person, a creative person, a curator, I should say, makes it appear as this was born yesterday. So I feel that this is a challenge of a curator. And that was, I took this challenge while I was doing this show, that whatever work I collect, I was not really keen on, okay, contemporary works, new works, works in this medium, works on that scale, works for sale, works for not sale, works which were done and works which were in someone's collection, or works which came out of artist studio. So I was not really concerned about it. I felt, and I think thanks to Samira Raja, because she has given me this space. Do whatever you want to do. Pick whatever you want to pick. show whatever you want to show. And that's, I think, tell you honestly, that's so rare, because when you are dealing with curators, as a gallery is dealing with curators, they have certain kind of agenda, not agenda, but restrictions as well, policies, sale, perception, censorship, reputation. Certain artists they like, certain artists they don't like, and galleries generally, like everyone else, have certain kind of groups of artists they feel comfortable. Some they don't feel, but I think it was kind of a hats off to Samira Raja, because she kind of gave me an carte blanche that okay, I was free, and I think that is the great thing, and that's a great challenge as well, because when the uh, entire responsibility lies on you, you are the one who's going to take the entire blame as well. So I felt very, I should say, heavy. And then one day, I didn't know how to do. मुझे पता नहीं था कि कैसे इसको शुरू करना है. I had like some artists in my head. तो एक दिन मैं बैठा. I'm just like recounting this experience. It's not a kind of a कोई बहुत intelligent कोई बात नहीं है, कोई intellectual चीज नहीं है. I was just sitting. I thought कि अच्छा कैसे करें. तो sometime I think spur of the moment पे कोई चीज आती है आपके जहन में. So I was sitting here where I am now. I had my computer and I had my writing के ritual जो थे वो सारे मिला के. I started writing the curatorial note. And once I've written this curatorial note, then this was a kind of a fuel which I felt was necessary to make the engine move and to take the journey onward. So sent curatorial note. The first thing I did, I selected a large number of artists. हमेशा ऐसे ही होना चाहिए और होता भी है कि आपने देखा ना, शादियों पे भी है कि आपने 1000 लोगों को का वो अरेंजमेंट की हुई है, but you're going to send invite to 1500 people. But you know that not everyone is going to turn up. So you want to kind of oblige more people. You want to try at more people. So what I also did, that I made a list of twice as the size number of artists who are showing at canvas in this day. So I sent invite to them. I sent proposal. I sent curatorial note to them. Some responded. Some did not. Some said that they're going to think about it, whatever it is. So eventually, what came out of it, मसला ये था कि आपने डिफरेंट तरह के लोग, जिसमें बीसी हुमा गुल, a recent graduate from BNU, I think few months back, maybe not just like 2 or 3 months back, she had her degree show, and someone like Noshin Saeed, who graduated in I think 19. Probably she was the oldest. I shouldn't say oldest artist. That's so politically incorrect, but say she is like kind of the most senior graduate in this exhibition. So yeah, it have felt, because as we speak the language, everyone has the access to language. It doesn't matter whether you have been talking in this, you're using this idiom or vocabulary for 20 years, for 30 years, for 33 years, or for 3 years. The past does not really make a difference. The experience is inconsequential. The real thing is how you speak in it. Picking a language is not a problem. Saying what you say, that is the real issue. So what I did, I contacted, I picked, I stumbled upon artists. I uh, looked at their work. The greatest challenge was not about selecting the artists, but dealing with their works. Mainly when you select artists, there are two kind of uh, uh, experiences. One is like, as I said, Farida Batul, if I asked for, and I did, specifically, categorically, I wrote to her that I want that work for this show. But for other artists, and for Noshin Said also, I said, well, sorry, I said, I want that work for your show, uh, of your work for this show. But for other artists, like Ayaz Jokio, Mehboob Jokio, Zulfikar Bhutto, Mariam Rahman, Fawad Jafri, Wajia Batul, and almost everyone else, Seema Nusrat. I didn't have any idea, okay, what are they going, Muhammad Ali Talpur, but I think somehow I know, I've I've known that उसने क्या किया हुआ मोहम्मद अली तालपुर साहब ने. So I had a fairly clear idea that I'm going to have that work in his for my show. But for a number of others, I didn't have an idea what are they going to produce. So that was like the challenge, and that was, I think, the excitement also. Because अगर आपको पता हो already कि हर चीज वो है clearly marked है, devised है, planned है, so then your job is good, but probably not as exciting. Exciting is that when you jump into unknown and then you realize when you're floating, then you say, what to do with it. So I think that was something which is interesting for me, that when you pick artists without their works, and then you are prepared to deal with their works, which you don't have any control, you have not seen it, you don't have any idea. So I think mujhe, luckily, I should say thank God, or thanks to my star, or thanks to my galleries, whenever I have artists, I was never kind of disappointed. So when I saw the works remotely, of course, some works I've seen in real life में, लेकिन majority works I've remotely. एक powder है, एक substance है, and वो है water है. Water is there, flower powder is there, substance, pigment or जो भी है. And then it is your hand, and it is your skill, which makes it so elastic, joined together, which you spread it, you turn it into a round piece, you make it a paratha, you make it a naan, you make it into something else if you like, a bread. But that turning that dough, turning that flour into something else through your hand, through the movement of your hand, is something I realized that is a curatorial job. That is a curator's work. That pani bhi hai, flower bhi hai, and it is now your hand. Hand means your mind, which kind of really needed in such a way. There's water in it. There is a flower in it, but what you see something completely different. And I think I take this every curatorial practice I do, every curatorial project I've done as a challenge that how to need something different out of it, which appears a different entity, yet the ingredients, but there's something else in it. So I was very happy when we were interacting, me and Samira and the Galley assistant, we were interacting and then putting, अच्छा इसको यहाँ लगाना है, इसको यहाँ लगाना है, इसको यहाँ लगाना है. I feel that that is the reward. That when you see the work, when I see the work, Farida Batul's work, or Noshin Said's work, both works were exhibited before in different places. But I realized that in that gallery, they appeared something different, completely different. So I think that was some, I felt that I didn't achieve anything, but I felt at ease as well. And then I think the other, जो मेरा एक अपना पर्सनल एजेंडा है, वो देखिए ना, हर एक वो होता है, तरीका होता है बात करने का. आपने अक्सर when you're reading a message, a text message to someone, तो आप जब पढ़ते हैं उसको text message को, or when you're reading email, actually you're not reading words. What you're doing is you're listening to that person's voice in your head. Whenever I know someone, मैं उसके लिखा हुआ पढ़ता हूँ तो मैं तो उसकी आवाज सुनता हूँ. तो same way a curator has a style, has a voice. I shouldn't say style. Style एक बड़ी वो है, pretentious a word है, but a voice which you hear, voice which other people hear, a voice first you came to know, and then the other people become aware of it. तो वो एक जो मेरी voice है, वो मेरी, now I realize talking to you, my voice is like kind of a bringing diversity into some kind of a unity. कि बहुत सारी अलग अलग चीजें होती हैं, अलग मीडियम्स, अलग फॉर्मेट्स, अलग इमेजरी. हमारे आर्ट के अंदर ना एक बहुत डिवीजन है कि चाहे रियलिस्टिक है, एब्स्ट्रैक्शन है, एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन है, मीडियम्स हैं, मटेरियल्स हैं, जॉनरास हैं, स्केल्स हैं, पोजीशंस हैं, क्लासिफिकेशंस हैं, आर्टिस्ट का एक अपना वो है, स्टैंडिंग है. So I don't really recognize any of these demarcations, categories. I feel that eventually, at the end of the day, all are same. All are on the same stage. You bring, it's almost like हमने पहले भी बात की थी, it's like a kind of a film director, जिसके फिल्म में हीरो, हीरोइन, विलन, हीरो का बाप, they're all important. But a postman is also important because a postman may make the entire movie. So I think I don't say who's the postman or who's the hero, who's the villain, because in an exhibition, everyone becomes a hero. And I think that's my job as a curator. And that was my job as a curator, that I make everyone's work worthy to be seen and equally respected, equally regarded, equally appreciated, and not something which is alien. So I felt, I am so happy about this show, that everything kind of really was knit together, was put together, weaved in such a way. I felt that it was kind of a harmony. जब Samira was showing me the entire उसका video, I realized कि हाँ, and then I felt that artists do connect with each other. They do converse with each other. They do have something to say to each other. And a curator brings that occasion, a venue, an opportunity to do that. अच्छा जी, अब आपने कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना तो क्वेश्चन भी पूछ लेंगे, हमारे पास टाइम अब कम खत्म होने लगे, वैसे ही लेट ज्वाइन किया था. Any question if you are interested in to ask? Practical, theoretical, simple, काम कैसे भेजते हैं ये भी आप बता सकते, पूछ सकते हैं. कोई भी क्वेश्चन, any question you which you feel.
Sir, a comment that I like to make is कि जब मैंने आपका curatorial note पढ़ा था, and now that I'm hearing you speak, जब मैंने पढ़ा था तो I did not make that link कि ये एक 14th August की exhibition है. I mean, there were references to India and Pakistan in it, but the whole concept of a line and how it splits and brings together and divides was so strong that I didn't, immediately connect it to 14th August. And now that I hear you speak, I feel like एक वो बहुत बड़ी success है of that curatorial note कि उसने उसको उस event और इस context से detach करके भी इतना relevant उसको रखा है. So, and I also felt that that was one of the curatorial notes that I've read in a long time. That was very precise, very to the point, and it just conveyed the whole idea in very few lines. So एक तो मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है कि is that all the curatorial note that you wrote? Yeah, is that just part of it?
नहीं, that was वो जो आपने एग्जीबिशन पे देखा था, वो जो कार्ड पे देखा है, the one you've seen on the card. No, I can share the entire curatorial note to you, because that was something which I shared, which I sent to artists, and I actually many responded because of curatorial note, because they felt connected to that. But I can share it for you. I think for the card, it was edited. Initially, my whole idea was that in my card, one side would be the entire curatorial note as an image. But I think probably it was not practical, because when you read, so you can't read anything, because if it's so small font. So I can share all with all four of you if everyone is happy to read it. So
yes, I'd love to read it. There's more of that.
The funny thing is, I realized it was just like a kind of a stroke of chance. I sat and I started writing, and I just wrote in one go. Naturally, you do edit when you go through and you just minor changes, but it was just what I felt that, and then I just. So I personally feel that in the exhibition, though curators are not supposed to add their works in their show, but I realized my note was also part of the work. That's why I said, in my pay, it should be there shouldn't be a picture, but there should be curatorial note. The other thing which I always feel, and I do practice, and I try to force as well when I'm having a show, curatorial shows or my own shows or group shows, I don't want to have a picture of artwork on the invite, but I wanted to keep it. There's some kind of a attraction or secrecy that so people should be inquisitive. What's there? So when you place something, then work. Whoever work had on the invite, it's almost like reading a book and then you read a passage which is all, it comes to highlight it if a book has already written read by someone. So you read that phrase or that note or that section in a completely different way. So any work which is on the invite will be received in a different way compared to the other works which are not on the invite. And invite is a small piece of paper. It cannot have the entire show, and it cannot have the entire show because sometimes the entire show is not really being done till the invite is published or printed. Because वो काम तो आखिर में भी बन रहा होता है ना. So I always felt that it's so unfair to put one work, even as a solo artist, if you're doing your solo show, to have one work and then leave the next work. I feel that that's unfair. So I always wanted to have something neutral. कभी तो मैंने सोचा कोई फोटोग्राफी छाप देनी चाहिए या कोई और चीज हो उसकी.
Something that builds curiosity for the show.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's another practice that I've seen in galleries often, where they don't put up the curatorial note in the gallery. वो लिखा हुआ नहीं होता. So what is your approach and how do you think one should go about that?
I think मेरा तो ख्याल है personally that they should have a curatorial note because it leads you to understand premise of the show.
Yeah.
And I think some galleries do. And let's hope other galleries जो कि वो नहीं करती, they'll start doing it. But I think it's always I felt that, curator like me, who was not at the opening, is not there to kind of, even if a person is there, the person is not all the time there to talk to 20 people at the same time. You can just 2 people or 3 or 4 or 5. So note kind of really, and then the thing is that a written text, this, I realized that we are talking, ये हवा में सारा dilute हो जाएगा. Of course, it has been recorded by Razin or Vasl. But imagine the same conversation is transcribed, edited, published. It will have a completely different reaction, value, perception, understanding. So when you have a written page, it has a different kind of a impact, I should say, or effect. So I feel that they do, but generally, sometimes, let's just be very frank that the word curator is so much abused in our culture. हर कोई वो है ना, वो पंजाबी में कहते हैं आप ईंट उठाए ना तो उसमें से क्यूरेटर आजकल निकल रहा है.
सही बात.
Like, I have a question. Ethically, how much time should you give the artist minimum amount of time to produce work for a certain show? Like, how much time did you give artists in this show of yours? And secondly, हम अभी curate कर रहे हैं show in February and March. तो अब ethically हम ये एक महीना पहले तो नहीं कह सकते कि जी आप भी काम दे, मतलब जल्दी बस, मतलब ethics के उसमें कि as a curator minimum amount of time आपको देना चाहिए artist से काम लेने के लिए या preparation के लिए या artist को अपना curatorial note भेजने के लिए. So what do you say about that?
I think it's मैंने तो probably I think I sent like 2 months before or 1.5 months before, but it depends, like show to show, scale to scale, and the medium to medium. For instance, if someone is doing like kind of a installation or mixed media work or sculptures, of course it will require more time to produce a work. Or I felt that practically it shouldn't be too long that it loses its interest or value or attraction, and it should be like too soon that it becomes practically impossible. So I felt that like talking about your own shows, it depends on the space, the number of works, what kind of artists you are working with. Some artists take longer period to work, many reminders. I in this show also, अगर मैं आपसे share करूँ ना कि soft reminder, another reminder, last reminder, मैंने तो वो एक सोचा था जैसे वो जहाज में होता है ना, this is the last call for passenger flying to Beirut. उस तरह के एक मैसेज भेजूं, this is the last call. So there are, and some did not respond, so they were dropped. Really good friends of mine. I shouldn't really name कि वो कौन हैं, लेकिन वो नहीं रिस्पॉन्ड किया रिमाइंडर्स के बाद. उन्होंने एग्री किया, यस यस वी आर डूइंग, ये होगा, बट लेटर ऑन. सो इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ it's a bet. So you do kind of you put everything on the table, and then you just keep on shuffling, reminding them, moving them, and actually more than reminding them, talking to them. I think if a curator is more of a, अगर ये हो जाता है ना एक वो ऑफिशियल सा हो गया है या एक हायर उस पे पेडिस्टल पे है, that may work in some instances, but I think in our circumstances, at least in my own experience, it's much better to kind of have a conversation with artists and interact with them. क्या हो रहा है, किस तरह से, and then I think not guiding them, because artists are independent. I never ask an artist do this. I've never asked an artist do this or don't do this or do this or do this. Eventually I do agree कि अच्छा लगा देंगे किसी तरह से वो हो जाएगा. Even there are shows where I had works which I personally felt were not up to the mark. I'm just sharing with you, not talking about the present work. Present show तो खैर बिल्कुल एक फर्क है, but in the past, then the real challenge comes that how to make this work look brilliant, which in your own opinion is terrible, yet you make it look so good. You find something new in it. You find some new aspect in it. मैं भी देखा था अभी, I was in England, so I went and saw Tate Britain का show. And since I was a student over there, I used to go to Tate. पहले Tate ही था, फिर वो Tate Britain हो गया once the Tate Modern came into being. Boring जगह, British art. And this time they had a new hang. And I realized, yeah, same works which I've seen many times, yet the way they put them together, they create a new story. Works sometimes you like, sometimes you don't like, but they have a relevance, they have a kind of a significance. So I think when you talk to artists, you know the artists, you know their practices as well, you know their habits as well, you know their studio, you know their procedure. So you give no, because हम उसको उस तरह से hard and fast तो नहीं कर सकते, शायद कर भी सकते हो, लेकिन personally felt कि वो you know कि अच्छा इसको इतना टाइम होना चाहिए, इसके साथ इतना होना चाहिए, इसके साथ इतना होना चाहिए. So you have a kind of a fairly depending on the idea and the depending on the artist's list, how much time is sufficient. अगर कोई मैं artist हूँ, even as a writer, somebody approaches me and say कि अच्छा वो 2025 नहीं 2024 के फॉल में एक किताब छप रही है, आप उसमें ऐसे लिखें, मैं वो ईमेल जो ना वो साइट पे रख देता हूँ. अब मैं कहूँगा अच्छा अगला आएगा तो फिर देखेंगे, अप्रैल आएगा तो फिर देखेंगे. So I think it's a very clever, it's a very curious way of dealing the timeline. And then you kind of keep on contacting them or interacting with them or looking at their work or sharing. Let them ask them to share whatever. Sometimes the artists, they don't share, which is perfectly fine. लेकिन कुछ करते हैं शेयर के ये मेरा आइडिया, ये मेरा आइडिया, ये मेरा आइडिया है, लेकिन कुछ नहीं करते। आई थिंक हर तरह के होते हैं, और हर तरह के यही आई थिंक क्यूरेटोरियल चीज़ यही होती है कि आपको लगता है कि जिस तरह से 1000 डिफरेंट टाइप के आर्टिस्ट हैं, इसी तरह से 1000 डिफरेंट टाइप के काम उनकी हैबिट्स है, रिस्पॉन्डिंग भी उनकी ऐसी ही है, किसी का किसी से नहीं मिलता। And I think that's the great thing. That is the challenge. I think that's something. It's like kind of putting jigsaw puzzle together. एक piece, वो piece, वो piece, वो piece उठा के आपने join कर लिया, then you make a picture. Even if the picture is not perfect, yet it is a picture. अच्छा, इस शो में let me ask you a question. आपको क्या फील हुआ कि सबसे इसमें इंटरेस्टिंग क्या चीज थी इस शो के? ये जो था Align That Divides. कोई चीज नहीं इंटरेस्टिंग?
नहीं सर, अभी पर्सनली आई डोंट थिंक हम कराची में, सो
मैं
लाइक
अभी
मैंने
तक गई
पर्सनली
नहीं
जाके
हाँ, साबर क्या कह रहे हो?
मैंने
मैं
कहा
भी
मैं
नहीं
तो
जानता
कराची में नहीं हूँ, सो आई हैव ओनली सीन स्निपेट्स ऑफ इट एंड आई वाज एक्चुअली ट्राइंग टू फाइंड कि किसी क्रिटिक ने अगर कोई आर्टिकल या कुछ लिखा हो तो आई कुड गेट मोर इन्फॉर्मेशन ऑन इट, लेकिन अभी तक मुझे नहीं मिली। बट मुझे सॉरी उसके नाम से वो याद आया था पिछले सेशन में जो आपने एक एग्जीबिशन देखी थी अपने बचपन में, अपनी
बचपन
जवानी
नहीं था।
जवानी वो वाली मुझे वो याद आ रही थी एसेंशियली, बिकॉज उसके अंदर भी लाइन को ही लिखा था और मैनिपुलेट किया था डिफरेंट
वो है,
कॉन्टेक्स्ट और
it's called
पर्सपेक्टिव में।
drawing the line. हाँ, वो बहुत अच्छे, वो
Yeah,
मेरे
yeah.
पास when we have a meeting, तो मैं वो लेके आऊंगा, मुझे रिमाइंड कराना, इधर ही कहीं पड़ी हुई है वो। इट्स एन एक्सीलेंट एग्जीबिशन थी, बहुत ही अच्छी थी। अभी मैं गया था व्हाइट चैपल पे जहाँ पे वो शो था, बट लकीली आई फाउंड दैट कैटलॉग, जो कि मिलती नहीं है। इट्स रियली रियली वो है एक्सपेंसिव नाउ डेज, लेकिन किसी ओल्ड बुक शॉप पे मुझे एक दफा मिल गई थी तो मैंने ले ली। बट वो खैर, हाँ, वो यही है ना एक्चुअली, बिल्कुल आपने सही कहा साबर, बिकॉज मैंने पहले भी ये बात की थी कि उसके अंदर भी डिफरेंट रीजन्स, डिफरेंट फॉर्मेट्स, डिफरेंट पीरियड्स वर ब्लेंडेड इन सच अ वे रियलाइज कि इंटरनली आर्ट मेकिंग तो एक ही चीज है। कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि वो वैन गॉग है या कोई वो है होकुसाई है, इंटरनली देख, और वो ऐसे ही है। मैं सोचता हूँ मटेरियल भी यही होती है ना, कितना हम फर्क करते हैं ना कि ये मेल है, ये फीमेल है, ये ब्लैक है, ये ब्राउन है, ये चाइनीज है, ये यानी वो है रिच पर्सन है, ये पुअर है, ये मुस्लिम है, ये सिख है, ये क्रिश्चियन है, ये हिंदू है, ये ज्यूइश है। जब एक फॉर इंस्टेंस पेंटर ही की मिसाल ले लें, ब्रश वही होते हैं, पेंट वही होता है, कैनवस वही होता है, पेंसिल भी वही है, पेपर भी वही है। इवेंचुअली व्हेन यू कम डाउन टू योर वर्क, यू जस्ट काइंड ऑफ आपका सब खत्म हो जाता है, सारा जो बैगेज है पीछे का वो खत्म हो जाता है। सो क्यूरेटोरियल उसमें भी ऐसे ही है ना कि लाइक वट एवर यू आर, यू हैव दिस सब्सटेंस एंड देन यू ब्रिंग टुगेदर एंड रियलाइज के एज एन आर्टिस्ट यू आर डूइंग द सेम थिंग। मैं वो देख रहा था इस शो में, उसका जुल्फकार भुट्टो का काम, फिर मैंने और फरीदा का काम देखा, एंड आई रियलाइज कि इसके अंदर वो बहुत ज्यादा सिमिलैरिटी है नौशीन के काम में, मोहम्मद अली तालपुर के काम में। हालांकि ये दो काम, these two works were created separately in different time without really kind of being aware of each other's work. बहुत सारे और भी इस तरह के काम थे। हुमा गुल का काम था which was created in a different way. वजिया बतूल का काम और तरह का था। फवाद जाफरी का काम किसी और तरह से, आई थिंक with something, so फवाद जाफरी का काम और सीमा नुसरत का काम, two works made in two different ways, in periods, cities, with the frame of mind, yet there you feel कि हाँ there is something kind of a edifice है, उसका एक और तरह का edifice था। So it is your job as a curator to kind of find a narrative among these diverse practices. कोई और क्वेश्चन और कमेंट और क्रिटिक और कंसर्न? But my है कि I hope you are working on your project जो कि अपने February में करना है, because I think it would be good to kind of start with and then you can fine tune it by the time we kind of move ahead. But अभी से कोई ideas कब sometime ये होता है कि एक idea आप शुरू करते हैं but not necessarily कि it will remain the same idea. You keep on changing, you discard it and you replace it. But it's better to start with something, फिर आप उसके ऊपर आप सोच रहे होते हैं. अगर आप बिल्कुल एक खाली चीज सोचते हैं तो फिर आप सोचते रहते हैं. कोई चीज होती है उससे फिर then you can either reject it completely or evolve it or transform it. But there is something उससे फिर आपका आसानी होती है. तो I think any idea, anything, I realized के मैंने पता नहीं शायद आपसे पहले भी बात की थी, वो गैब्रिएल गार्सिया मार्केस ने बहुत अच्छी बात की. उसने कि जो ग्रेट पीसेस ऑफ लिटरेचर होते हैं ना, they are not really based on great ideas. They can be on a very small, simple idea. It is how you stretch that idea, which can make it a great work. जब हम सोचते रहते हैं ना ये ग्रेट आइडिया होगा, तो ग्रेट आइडिया कोई भी नहीं होता. ग्रेट आइडिया की फैसिनेशन इतनी ज्यादा हो जाती है कि इट काइंड ऑफ makes us limp. We don't really feel कि वो एक्साइटमेंट उसकी आइडिया में खत्म हो जाती है काम करते हुए ना. फिर we feel bored or exhausted.